So picture this, right? Professor Priscilla Hayes. She's up there at the whiteboard, looking all brilliant and sophisticated, scribbling away these crazy equations. And then she spots me looking at the board and just doing my thing, cleaning up. She actually stopped her whole lecture, turned to me with a disdainful look, and with this really snotty laugh, she goes, "That's enough, you black monkey or janitor you call yourself. Are you really pretending to understand my lecture?" The whole class started giggling, these undergraduate students just eating it up. I just kind of paused, my yellow gloves still on, but I'd been watching her work. And man, I just couldn't let it go. So, I walked right up to the board, cleared my throat, and I just said, "Professor, there's a subtle error in your second derivation." Dude, the entire room just went dead silent. And Priscilla? Her face, I swear, it just froze. That big, confident smile? Gone. She just stood there, completely stunned. Honestly, it felt like a bomb just dropped in that classroom. The shockwave just kind of rippled through the whole university. Within an hour, everyone was whispering about the janitor who corrected Professor Hayes. You know Priscilla, right? All those fancy degrees from Harvard and Oxford, always talking about her intellectual superiority. Her office is practically a shrine to her ego. But here's the thing. While she was probably fuming in her ivory tower, replaying the moment, I was out there, pushing my cleaning cart. And yeah, I had my secret stash of advanced calculus books hidden under the rags. See, this wasn't just some random argument. This was like the beginning of a quiet war. It was the world of privilege against someone like me, and everything I was doing was for my little sister. It was about to get real. So, while I was scrubbing floors, Priscilla was probably sipping some fancy, overpriced coffee in her office, right? You know the type of office, all gleaming wood and glass, with her Ivy League diplomas practically glowing on the wall. She'd be dressed in some designer outfit that probably cost more than my month's rent, chatting with other professors about abstract theories, completely convinced that brilliance only lived in their little academic bubble. Meanwhile, my office was 3 campus buildings, 12 hours a day pushing my cart, wearing the same old uniform. After my shifts, when everyone else was heading home, I'd sneak off to some quiet corner, pull out those hidden math textbooks from my locker, and just lose myself in the numbers. I mean, the contrast was insane. They were the visible, celebrated minds, and guys like me, we were just part of the background, the essential, invisible staff. Priscilla truly believed that smarts only came with a fancy degree and a privileged upbringing. She just couldn't imagine anything else. But man, something had shifted that day. Neither of us knew it yet, but things were about to get interesting. People see me pushing a mop, they don't see what got me here. When I was a kid, I actually loved school, especially math. I was good, really good. But then, my little sister, Ngozi, she's 10 now, bright as a button, full of life, she got sick. This rare heart thing. Suddenly, all those dreams of college, the scholarship I'd earned, it all just vanished. My parents, man, they had to make impossible choices, and her medical bills, even back then, were crushing us. So I stepped up, said goodbye to the books, hello to every odd job I could find. Now, she needs another surgery, a huge one, like $250,000, and we're on a clock, maybe 4 to 6 months. That's why I'm here, pulling these insane hours. But after everyone's gone, that's my time. Those math books, they're not just a hobby. They're my escape, my sanctuary. When I'm lost in an equation, it's a place where none of the real-world stuff matters. A place where I know exactly who I am and what I'm worth. It's all for her, Every single late night, every problem solved, it's a promise to Ngozi. So, that whole scene in the lecture hall, man, it blew up. I heard whispers in the hallways, even the faculty lounge was buzzing about it. Priscilla, though, she was furious. Couldn't believe she'd been wrong, especially not by me. Around the same time, the university announced this big deal, the Euler Challenge, a math competition with a massive $75,000 prize and a fast track to a PhD. Priscilla, naturally, was a head judge, already picturing her star students winning. Then, during some public forum, someone actually dared to ask her about the janitor incident. She totally waved it off, called it a fluke. But I guess it was eating at her, 'cause she struts up to a whiteboard, scribbles out this insane, super obscure equation, and with this arrogant smirk, she just throws it out there. "Solve this?" she actually said, scoffing. "And I'll marry you." The class erupted in laughter. Some student, bless his heart, actually called me out from the back. So I walked up there, and man, I just solved it. Right there, in front of everyone, in minutes. The whole place went from roaring laughter to dead silence. Then boom. Pandemonium. The video of it went viral, #JanitorGenius started trending. Priscilla's face, dude. Pure humiliation. But she was trapped. Had to invite me to the challenge. She probably figured I'd crash and burn, proving her right. Little did she know. Man, after that whole viral thing, life just got crazier. I'd finish my shift, then head straight to the hospital. Nights were spent in that sterile waiting room, watching Ngozi sleep, the stack of medical bills on the table just screaming at me. Dr. Adebola, Ngozi's doctor, she's a good person. But she didn't mince words. We needed that surgery, and soon. Meanwhile, my inbox was filling up with anonymous emails. People telling me to quit, calling me an embarrassment. It was intense. But every time I felt that doubt creep in, I'd just pull out my old, dog-eared math books, the ones from my childhood, filled with my own scribbles. This wasn't about proving them wrong anymore. It was about Ngozi, about showing that what I had up here in my head was worth more than any piece of paper. Then came the morning of the preliminary rounds. The media was everywhere, bright lights and cameras. 15 contestants. 14 polished grad students, all looking sharp, and me, still in my uniform. Priscilla was there, too, watching me like a hawk. You could feel her icy stare. She'd cooked up these problems herself, clearly trying to trip me up. I even spotted Dr. Davies, a really respected professor who always seemed a bit skeptical of Priscilla, and Dr. Sharma, who'd given me a few quiet, encouraging nods. It was me against their whole world, and I knew it. Man, walking into that auditorium for round one was wild. The place was packed, like 1,000 people, and I heard later there were 50,000 watching online. Priscilla got up there first, and you could tell she was trying to sound intimidating, talking about rigorous training and academic discipline. Basically, everything I didn't have a piece of paper for. Then they hit us with the first problem, some crazy complex probability thing. All the grad students, they're scribbling away using these super advanced formulas, stuff they'd memorized. But I just saw it differently. I went up to my board, drew out the simple diagram, kind of broke it down visually, showing the logic like it was obvious. I wasn't just solving it. I was explaining it so anyone could get it. I saw Dr. Davies, who's a big deal in math, lean forward, a look of genuine intrigue on his face. Someone told me he even mumbled, "Pure mathematical intuition." The online chat apparently just blew up with people loving how clear I made it. We all technically advanced, but it felt like my way of seeing things really grabbed everyone. During the break, #JanitorGenius and #Okoro for President were apparently trending. Even Dean Thompson, who'd been a total skeptic, started watching me differently. And get this, I caught sight of this really elegant woman in the VIP box, just watching me intently. Later, I'd find out she was a huge philanthropist. Even Dr. Sharma gave Priscilla a quiet word, probably telling her to play fair. It was just the first round, but man, it felt like hope had just walked in the room. So the semifinals rolled around, and man, I was running on fumes. Woke up at 3 a.m. for my janitorial shift, literally scrubbing toilets, and then had to show up for the competition at 4 p.m., probably still smelling a bit like disinfectant. Priscilla, of course, couldn't resist a dig. She actually said something like, "One must wonder if a lack of dedicated academic focus affects one's performance." The crowd kind of mumbled, but I just ignored her. The problem they threw at us was a tricky one on topology, all about shapes and spaces. The other guys were just rattling off definitions and theorems they'd memorized. But me, I started talking about stretching and bending spaces, using this analogy that just clicked for everyone, even the non-math people. Dr. Davies was nodding, muttering, He sees the essence, not just the rules. I guess I made some really high-level stuff sound easy. And just like that, it was down to 3 of us. 2 of their best grad students and me. Over 150,000 people were watching worldwide now. Later that night, I heard Priscilla was alone in her office, surrounded by her old research papers. She was cooking up the final problem, something from her own unpublished dissertation, a real monster she thought only she or her top students could possibly solve. I bet she was battling herself. 2 part of her probably respected what I'd done, but the other part just desperately wanted to prove I was a fluke. Dr. Davies even texted her, warning her about bias. She was staring at my semifinal solutions, and for the first time, I think she was actually getting nervous. Dude, finals day was a blur of lights and cameras. Over 250,000 people watching live, news crews everywhere. Priscilla, she was practically glowing with smugness as she unveiled the Hayes Theorem challenge. Her own dissertation problem, notorious for being impossible. Dr. Davies actually leaned over to the dean and whispered, "This is beyond reasonable." But Priscilla just shot back something cold about rigor. The other 2 finalists, her protégés, they got right to work. They'd probably seen parts of this before. My stomach dropped. 90 minutes on the clock, and for the first 30, my board was basically blank. Priscilla's voice, over the loudspeakers, was like a taunt. A stark difference between enthusiasm and foundational knowledge. At 45 minutes, the cameras zoomed in, probably catching my sweating, desperate face. I tried, erased, tried again. At 60 minutes, I made a huge mistake. My whole approach just collapsed. The livestream comments flashed. "He's hit his limit." Hayes was right. Priscilla even had the nerve to suggest I concede with dignity. With only 15 minutes left, I just put down the chalk, closed my eyes. I felt broken, truly defeated. I could practically feel Priscilla's triumphant, almost pitying smile. But then, I heard Dr. Davies, his voice cutting through. "Sometimes, the most elegant solutions come from perspectives untainted by conventional thought." And man, it was like a flash in Ngozi's face, her bright, curious eyes. Then this obscure passage from an old Greek math book I'd found once. My eyes snapped open. 15 minutes. That's all I had left. I wiped the board clean, took this huge, shaky breath, and just started over. Forget all their fancy modern stuff. I dove back into those old classical methods, that intuitive geometry I taught myself. With 10 minutes left, man, the pieces just snapped together. It was like watching a puzzle solve itself. I saw Dr. Davies in the crowd, a slow smile spreading as his eyes went wide. When the buzzer blared, my board was full, a complete solution. The other finalists presented their stuff, correct? Sure, but nothing special. Then it was my turn. The problem seemed to demand a specific language. I told everyone. But mathematics often speaks in universal truths, if we listen. Priscilla immediately went for the kill, questioning my proofs, throwing out all these complex terms. Other judges piled on, too. But Dr. Davies, he cut them off. "Let him speak," he said. "You might learn something." And I just defended it. Every single point explaining the intuitive logic behind it. I showed them this underlying symmetry, this simple convexity, that made all their advanced theories almost unnecessary. "Mathematics doesn't care about the name of the theorem," I said, looking right at Priscilla. "Only its truth." One of the other finalists, Tessa, actually whispered, "He's right. It's so simple." The judges took forever to verify, probably 20 minutes with 300,000 people watching. Finally, Dr. Davies announced it. Not only correct, but profoundly original. The most innovative proof I've seen in 30 years. The place absolutely exploded. Then, from the crowd, someone yelled, "Professor Hayes, when's the wedding date?" I just smiled, then talked about how talent can come from anywhere. Man, what a moment. So, after all that chaos, Dr. Davies stepped up, right? And man, he dropped a bombshell. He told everyone that years ago, I'd secretly crushed this national math exam, top 0.1%, even got a full scholarship but had to turn it down for Ngozi. The whole auditorium went wild, not just a janitor, but a silent prodigy who sacrificed everything. Suddenly, offers poured in from MIT, Oxford, Stanford, all with full rides. And then Evelyn Reed, that philanthropic woman from the VIP box, stood up and announced she'd cover all of Ngozi's surgery costs and set up a huge endowment for unconventional talent at Northwood. Can you believe it? Cameras swung to Priscilla, and her face, dude, it was a mix of shock, shame, and maybe, just maybe, a tiny bit of awe. The crowd's cheers must have felt like a judgment on her. Later, when everyone was gone, it was just us in that empty hall. She actually apologized, genuinely, tearfully. I was blind, she said, and I told her, it takes courage to see beyond what you thought you knew. Then she brought up the ridiculous proposal, and I, being me, just smiled. Are you retracting the offer, Professor Hayes? She actually chuckled, a real chuckle this time, and asked if we could start with dinner as equals. I said yes. It wasn't instant romance, but it was a beginning built on respect, you know? Fast forward 6 months. Ngozi's surgery was a huge success. She's running around like crazy. I started my PhD at MIT, balancing school with visiting her. And Priscilla? She launched that Okoro Fellowship. Totally changed her classes. Way more humble. We'd even grab coffee sometimes on campus just talking math, 2 colleagues. It sparked this whole national conversation. People sharing stories of hidden talent everywhere. Dr. Adebola called with amazing news about Ngozi's full recovery, and I just hugged Ngozi, telling her, we did it, little sis. We all won. Priscilla, I think, finally understood true worth isn't about fancy papers. It's about the human spirit. So, seriously, how many amazing people do you overlook every day? That barista, your Uber driver, the person cleaning your office? We gotta look closer, man. You never know where the next genius is hiding. Thanks for staying with me. See you tomorrow. Please like, subscribe and comment where you watched from.